Welcome back to Intentionally Disturbing with Dr. Leslie, forensic psychologist. Today, I want to talk about a case that I found very amusing, but also amazing because we have yet another badass bitch coming up against kind of a little bit of a fool. We're going to talk about Gwyneth Paltrow. She's an Oscar winner. She's a wellness mogul and now a courtroom warrior. And everything that happened in that skiing case, to me, was epic. This is not just a celebrity trial. It was a masterclass in female empowerment, legal strategy, and refusing to be reduced to a stereotype. Today, I want to talk about this incredible woman, Gwyneth Kate Paltrow. And yes, I'm brown-nosing and sucking up because I love goop. So let's get into Gwyneth. I have always found her to be intelligent, beautiful, funny. She is a powerhouse woman. But when she was sued for this fake skiing collision, I was glued to the case, and I know a lot of you were too. So here's a little backstory about Gwyneth. I've seen her around town a lot. I frequent her store, Goop, the wellness brand Goop. Honestly, I love her products. She has some of my favorite things, like organic makeup and lip gloss that comes with a serum, so your lips are always moist. I don't know if you know this, but a lot of lip glosses purposely make your lips dry so that you have to reapply and you have to keep reusing it. So the fact that Gwyneth taught me that, I mean, I love her for that. I love my plump lips. But she's also, like me, a bit of a bougie bitch. And it is what it is. That's kind of the lifestyle in Brentwood. And you do fall into it because you want to be a part of it. And money can buy happiness at times. Money sure as hell can buy a $38 lip gloss that can make me really happy. Sorry, everyone. So Gwyneth was born in 72, but she looks more like she was born in 83, kind of like me. She looks amazing because she takes such good care of herself. And she was one of the first to start these wellness brands, and she knows what she's doing. She has a lot of scientific backing and a lot of help. We can also add that she has a lot of controversy behind her, and she's been sued before because of things that are not so medical. So we have both sides. Again, we always think about both sides and the nuance. She was born into this industry. Her mom was an actress and her dad was a producer, a director. She has had some epic films, Shakespeare in Love. She won an Oscar for, Seven, Iron Man, and a personal favorite of mine, Shallow Hal. But for me, she became a real person when she started Goop. And that's why this skiing lawsuit pissed me off so much. It was nothing but a money grab. I loved watching her in those Jeffrey Dahmer glasses and those $1,000 Jenny Kane sweaters sitting in the courtroom, silently taking notes while this dirtbag of a man, just this money grab. I just wanted to scream, fuck off, over and over. And in her classy silence and her cold, callous presentation, she indeed told him to fuck off throughout that trial. Okay, but let's go back to Goop for a second. So many people have copied her ideas and her lifestyle brands in Hollywood and all around the world, and I don't agree with it all. I have to say, as a forensic psychologist, I love science, and Gwyneth does incorporate a lot of pseudoscience, but that's very Hollywood, that's very trendy. The concept of beauty, fashion, food, the Hollywood elite, really, they fascinate me. They take it to another level. We have to ground ourselves in the reality of science. She's definitely been sued upwards of hundreds of millions of dollars for things going on within Goop. But again, we never know who's telling the truth, especially if people are settling out of court with these Goop lawsuits. But finally, we have Gwyneth in trial in a court, and we see who's telling the truth. Gwyneth was telling the truth, and she held her own throughout all the way to the end. And now I respect her even more. I'm Dr. Leslie. I'm a forensic psychologist. And yes, I'm a bougie bitch. And I'm going to enter the chat on this case that we haven't talked about for a while. Let's say that Gwyneth consciously uncoupled with her husband, named her kids after fruit, but yet became completely savage when sued by Terry Anderson, who tried to just take her money and blame her for something she didn't do. And in her most epic quote, the damages that she accrued during this case, well, she lost half a day of skiing. Okay, so on a relatively normal day, February 26, 2016, at the Deer Valley Resort, Park City, Utah, that super cheap luxury resort where rooms are like tens of thousands of dollars and I'll never be able to afford to go. Most of us won't be. Anyway, so Gwyneth was skiing and Terry was skiing too. I don't really know. He had some money then if he was there. It was supposed to be a normal day, right? But then there was a collision on the hill. There are two sides to every lawsuit, right? So he says that she crashed into him. She says that he crashed into her. And now we have a televised trial with a ton of experts, a ton of money going into this trial. Oh, it was good television. Terry is a retired optometrist. He was 76 at the time. And I'm assuming he had good vision if that was his job. So he would have been able to see who he was crashing into. He alleged that Paltrow crashed into him from behind, causing, get this, permanent brain damage and broken ribs. Now, she alleged that he simply crashed into her and she just got up. Like it kind of took the wind out of her, but she got up and she went away. In the initial lawsuit, Terry Sanderson sued her for $3.1 million, but then quickly reduced that to $300,000, which, as I've seen in litigation, that is another indication of a money grab. Like, whoa, she's not going to give us $3. Let's drop to 300. Maybe she'll settle. Like, maybe she'll just want us to go away. Gwyneth said no. And Terry kept saying, just give me money. I know you're rich. I want some money. That's the vibe I was getting as this trial started. Paltrow then countersued as a big fuck you to Terry Anderson and following in the footsteps of Taylor Swift for the most epic and symbolic $1 plus attorney's fees. Now, $1, yeah, that's a big statement. Attorney's fees, that's probably around $1 million. So that's something to take into account that he had to deal with. Now, according to Google, Gwyneth is worth about $200 million. And I don't know if that includes all of her corporations or if that's personal. But I don't know. Why even sue for $1? It was a statement. It was a deliberate echo of Taylor Swift's 2017 countersuit against the DJ who groped her. So now we have a theme of power, female empowerment, strong, badass bitches, fuck around and find out. Speaking about money, it's time for a commercial break. Oh, hey. You're here. As a forensic psychologist, I'm a part of many celebrity legal suits. I wish I could tell you, but I have to sign non-disclosure agreements. But I mean, shit gets wild, crazy. You can't even believe the people you are watching on TV, in movies, athletes, what they get into. There definitely is a dark side to everyone, but there's also some good people who are sued when they really shouldn't be. I'm hired to conduct psychological assessments for plaintiffs or defendants or both. I'm often hired as a rebuttal witness. So I'll come in there and I'll take the two psychologists' assessments and I'll rip them up. I will figure out where the errors are and where there are holes and pockets that we can fight against the case with. I usually write these really lengthy reports. They range from 30 to 70 pages, and I am going in depth about the individual's mental health. I'm going in depth about their academics, their childhood, their family, their career trajectory, mental illness in their family, medical things. I mean, anything and everything, crime, substance use, spirituality, religion, everything. And what I do is I look at how was this person before the incident? And then what happened? How was the trauma at the time of the incident? And how was this person after the incident? How was their mental health? Now, I say this because Terry was saying that he had brain damage after he had this collision with Gwyneth Paltrow. So a lot of the money that he was seeking was because he lost part of his life from this horrific incident, right? Which again, we've proven that it didn't happen that way. So there's a lot of science behind proving these allegations, and there's a lot of science that goes into these psychological assessments where we look at truth, we look at lying, and we look to see if people are valid and reliable through, like I've said before, massive, massive normative samples. These tests have been around for dozens of years, and so many people, so much money has gone into making them incredible. So the fact that people just settle these cases, it doesn't say much. What it says to me is they don't want this to ruin their image. They would rather settle and get out. And it doesn't give us a chance to ever know what was true. When you settle a case, you also have someone sign a non-disclosure agreement. And in doing that, they can't talk about the case. So once again, we never know if it's true or not. What I love about Gwyneth was that her integrity was more important than her reputation. She could have paid this guy out $5,000 and he probably would have gone away. I mean, he had emailed his daughter that he was soon going to be famous because he had gotten into this collision with a famous person. But no, she was not willing to let this happen. There wasn't going to be a money grab. She wasn't going to reward a false claim. She believed her version of the events, and she was going to ride that out all the way through a very ugly small brown courthouse for a couple weeks. It was a brown courthouse, and that's so not Gwyneth's style. Ugh, why couldn't we have just done this in like a nicer courthouse? But I guess you have to do court where you're getting sued, which was Utah. Anyways, so she definitely accrued legal fees of about $1 million, and I think that's how much he had to pay out, but I'm not entirely sure. But she got reamed in the media over this. I mean, the people made memes out of her. They brutalized her in just this short window. I mean, the internet is wild. They called her cold and callous and like she was Jeffrey Dahmer. Mostly because of those sunglasses. And again, an interesting choice. But what can money not buy? What can money not buy for Gwyneth? A woman standing in her truth and unwilling to go quietly just to protect her image and bow down to the man. And I'm so happy more and more we are seeing powerful women with deep pockets and their ability to stand up to these false accusations. Okay, so the trial initially seemed pretty chill. It was in a small courtroom, a lot of brown furniture, not a lot of like Kim K aesthetics. It didn't even go that far. It wasn't that like monochromatic, I think is the word. A lot of it was ugly. It was a small, cheap courthouse, and definitely not Gwyneth style. It took place in Park City District Court in Summit County, Utah. So as you can imagine, this is in Hollywood, guys. Jury selection began March 21st, 2023, and they had a verdict. They decided what they wanted to do. The trial was over by March 30th. So let me do. Math is not my thing. What's that, 9 days? Yeah, this was a pretty clear-cut trial. If you blinked, you would have missed it compared to all of these other incredibly long-ass trials that we are watching, like Sean Combs. And I would imagine the Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt trial coming up is going to be very, very long as well. So the jury deliberated for under 3 hours. I think it was closer to 2 hours, and it was pretty cut and dry. I think they all just really got along and agreed that Terry was lying. Gwyneth Paltrow and Terry both presented with very good experts, especially neurologists, who came to similar opinions that he just wasn't able to show that he had traumatic brain injuries from this incident and broken ribs. Overall, it was low key, but it felt very intense, especially because there was a real lack of emotions in the room. She sat there and she kind of looked like a serial killer, but she looked angry. She was like, don't fuck with me. We have this rich, blonde, beautiful actress versus this kind of, he started as a sweet old man. Oh, poor guy. Maybe he has a TBI. And it turned quickly as soon as evidence came into the room. The media loved it. They ran with it. And again, don't trust the media, right? We need to wait until we actually get to trials because she started off as the problem and it concluded with him being the problem. She had key testimony. Her neurologists were amazing, but she also had amazing evidence that showed that he was lying. I think it's important to note that she was calm throughout the whole trial. She was composed. She was unwavering throughout the trial, unwavering with her viewpoints and her belief, no matter what his experts came on the stand and said. She said things like, I was skiing, 2 skis came between my skis, forcing my legs apart, and then there was a body pressing against me and a strange grunting noise. She was very articulate, and her story never changed. She never wavered. She was not emotional. She was not reactive or cagey on cross-examination. That is what happened, and she knew it. So he said he felt like he was going to die and that he suffered cognitive decline. And I think that's important because what he's playing into are the emotional damages. He felt like he was going to die. That's criteria 1 for a diagnosis of PTSD. And that's going to get you a lot more money if you can prove that that was related to this incident, injury, collision moment. Now, this is an important part. This is where the lawyers did a really good job teaching their clients how to talk. So Gwyneth, she spoke in a very objective way. She spoke about behaviors. There was no emotion. She said, this happened. It's a matter of fact. Hey, jury, believe it or not, this is what happened. He played more into the emotions, which is more subjective. Now, when you take those emotions and the subjective story and you add to it the evidence, like him traveling around the world after this incident, he really looks like a fool and like he's lying. And she comes out with just being the same the entire time, which to me is credible and truthful. So both sides had neurologists and they had ski safety professionals. They had numerous experts. And this is why the legal bills are probably around $1 million, which Terry was then stuck with. Gwyneth's team was able to highlight so many inconsistencies in Terry's medical timeline and his claims. I just really don't think that he thought it was going to go this way. I thought that really she, being so rich, was just going to settle, and they did not have their ducks in a row. You know, the minute you sue someone, you put your Instagram and your Facebook to private. You act like how you want to be seen in that courtroom. He did not do that. So, and again, she was so objective and clean and calm and stating the truth that she said, what did you know, when asked, what did you lose out of this? She said, well, I lost a half day of skiing. She's not pulling heartstrings. She's not lying. She literally lost a half day of skiing, and that's what happened. Now, she probably has damages she incurred from having to go through this lawsuit, which was absolutely ridiculous, but poor girl couldn't get her bougie ass skiing for the day. Probably better. The media definitely used that line a million times. I mean, they said that she was being sarcastic. Who knows if it was a trauma response, but man, it was everywhere. The bougie actress loses half a day of skiing when she gave somebody a traumatic brain injury. Okay, so that's where we are at this point in the trial. The trial definitely highlighted the double standard in how women are judged for their tone. One of the fun parts of this case was the opposing counsel, because the attorney of Terry seemed like she was starstruck. She wanted to be Gwyneth's friend. She was commenting on Gwyneth's height and her boots and her celebrity lifestyle, and it did not at all seem manipulative. It did not seem like she was being gamey. She was genuinely starstruck by being in a room with Gwyneth Paltrow. She asked about her friendship with Taylor Swift so many times that it it just became utterly pointless. She wanted to kind of hone in on how Gwyneth was suing for $1 and how that's like Taylor Swift. But her questions were more like, are you guys friends? Do you guys hang out? Oh my gosh, this is so cool. I get to talk to you, which it took on a layer of just, it was ridiculous. The lawyer was transparent that she didn't seem like she had ever really worked with a celebrity before. So Terry's lawyer tried to say that after the crash or the collision, he suffered a traumatic brain injury. And because of that, he wasn't able to go travel. One of the things he loved doing was going on these long wine tasting adventures and traveling, going all over the place, being a very active man at the age of 76. Terry claimed that he lost all of that ability to live his free spirit, lovely life. However, the evidence certainly showed otherwise. The lawyers were quick to bring in Facebook pictures of Terry traveling around after the accident and posting pictures from Peru to Morocco to Europe after the accident. I mean, he was on the go. He also sent an email to his daughter, something about now he thinks he's going to be famous. That was after the accident, after he had initiated litigation against Gwyneth Paltrow. Not a good look for somebody with a traumatic brain injury, broken bones, and who is incapacitated after this accident. So it came down to a bit of a battle of neurologists. The neurologist said that he had a 2009 brain scan that showed he had pre-existing brain abnormalities. I'm not entirely sure what they were, but things weren't looking totally clear back in 2009. And now we're jumping to 2023. We cannot say that this accident we have no proof that this accident altered his brain. And we certainly can't say that because of what he was posting on Facebook and what he was doing after the accident. So his cognitive decline, if there was any, was due to age-related degeneration rather than a ski collision. And also, he did say that the minute they collided, he apologized to Gwyneth. And that shows that he was the one who collided into Gwyneth. So not a lot of evidence, but the evidence that we had was significant enough. Another bit of evidence that is very important is that Terry said that he apologized to Gwyneth right after the Another important bit of evidence was that Terry acknowledged he said, "I'm sorry" to Gwyneth right after the collision. He said, basically, "I collided into you and I'm sorry." She certainly did not apologize to him because she was the victim in the collision. So that was used again to tell the jury, once again, we don't have a truthful man coming at this very wealthy celebrity. One big part to this, too, was that he, in his initial complaint, said that he had GoPro evidence. He had video evidence of this, that he could prove the collision. Well, as the case went on and everyone was like, "Ooh, we're going to trial, buddy. This isn't going to be a settlement." He never showed the GoPro video evidence. He never had it. So again, when you are reading these complaints that are public, especially on celebrities and TikTokers, Instagram, everyone is out there, YouTube, we're reading these complaints. You can write whatever you want in a complaint. You can write whatever you want in hopes that you are going to scare someone enough that it is going to lead to a settlement and a money grab. Here's a perfect example. He wrote in there that he had video evidence. He wrote in there that he had a GoPro on him. And then when push came to shove, he couldn't find it for the trial. So he never showed the GoPro evidence. That seems a bit fishy. Anyways, I drink a lot of coffee. That's such a lie. I drink a lot of Red Bull writing the script. I'm going to go take a potty break. Oh, hey. You're here. As I noted before, Gwyneth was criticized so much in the media during this trial, and it wasn't right. People made fun of her facial expressions, her clothing, how icy she presented. And I honestly have to say, I loved every moment of it. I loved that she did not give a fuck about what people thought of her. She was righteous in her beliefs, and I hope that women fall in her footsteps because to me, it was a really good look. It's too bad she didn't hysterically cry when she was testifying because maybe that would have turned the media a little bit in her direction. She could have acted. She could have tried to get more empathy from the jury, but she didn't. She actually just was herself and told the truth. Instead, the jury called her manipulative and said that she had dead eyes, which I don't know how you could actually see them because she was wearing such large glasses the entire time. But let's do a quick comparison to some other trials and some other ladies that testified. Let's look at Amber Heard, Elizabeth Holmes, or even Meghan Markle. All of these women are constantly policed for their emotional tone in high stakes environments. It doesn't matter what they do, what they say, how they emote, they are criticized. Everything is ripped apart. It's so different than men. And it's striking to me. And this case really highlighted that. I comment on Meghan Markle, especially because she did an interview that went very viral where she seemed very, very narcissistic. She really did like herself. I don't know what that saying is, taste yourself. Um, she was saying things about herself that were very, very nice, even when she wasn't asked by the interviewer. And I left a little comment on the video. I don't know what it was, Variety or People or something. And I said, why does the interviewer look like she hates Meghan Markle? And it was just kind of an off the cuff comment. I don't know. A week later, that comment alone, still on that old reel on Instagram, has over 30,000 likes and hundreds of comments underneath saying people do not like Meghan Markle. People do not think that she is authentic or that she is real. And I was absolutely amazed by the amount of people who feel like they knew her and they just piped in with such confidence and authority to rip apart a woman in a very high profile position. The whole thing was very shocking to me, and the comment is still up. I can tag it for all of you. So these women can't get a break in any setting. We've got the cold, icy Gwyneth. We've got the over-emoting Amber. We've got the kind of narcissistic Meghan Markle. Who knows? We don't actually know these people, but we're making a ton of judgments about these people. What I love about Gwyneth is she didn't play the victim role, and she did not care about the media. She played her life, and she did it right. The $1 countersuit was quite the statement. She said, "This is not about money. This is about truth, and I am not lying." It was a refusal to capitulate to emotional blackmail. Now, she did a few post-trial interviews, which I find interesting. She didn't say much, but what she did say was that it felt unfair to have to defend something I knew I didn't do, but I was going to do it anyways. I'm happy she had the financial means to fight against this lawsuit because a lot of women don't. And she could have easily, once again, had a settlement, had an NDA, and had this guy just go away, but she didn't. She said, "You don't get to accuse me falsely." And that's how the trial ended. The trial ended with one of the most epic moments. The whole jury found Terry Sanderson 100% at fault for the ski collision. Paltrow was awarded $1, and the jury found that Terry Sanderson had to pay Paltrow's legal fees. Now, here is my absolute favorite part that just gave me chills when this badass bitch did it. She got up and she walked out of the courtroom and she stopped by Terry and she whispered in his ear, "I wish you well." Perfect. Now, was she being passive aggressive? Was she being passive aggressive yet graceful? A little bit of a classy clapback? Either way, I loved it. We saw the same thing in the Sean Combs case where Jane came off the stand and she hugged the prosecution and the lawyer looked completely stunned. Her arms went limp. It was such a power play. I loved it. Terry didn't really say anything back to Gwyneth in that moment. It was just kind of like, okay, thank you. You too, dear. But Gwyneth walked away with strength and confidence and as a professional. And I very much appreciated her performance throughout that trial. And I hope that other women follow in her footsteps and remain confident when faced with false allegations. Oh, hey. You're here. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of Intentionally Disturbing, and I will catch you next time. Intentionally Disturbing is a podcast from me, Dr. Leslie. It's distributed by iHeartMedia. Liam Billingham is the senior producer, and he also edits the show and puts up with my shit. Katie Cobbs does the social media, and she attempts to keep me in my lane, not always successful. The executive producers are Paul Anderson and Scott McCarthy for Workhouse Media, who have told me not to text them 24/7. But you know what? I'm still the boss. Thanks again for listening. We'll see you next week for more Intentionally Disturbing.